Have you ever stared into a mirror for so long that your own face starts to look unfamiliar? It's a strange feeling, right? For me, it started with that exact sensation, but it turned into something much more terrifying. It was a Tuesday night. I was getting ready for bed, just going through the motions, brushing my teeth, washing my face. I remember looking up into the bathroom mirror, water dripping from my chin, and I just stared. I was tired, stressed from work, and I guess I just zoned out. I blinked, ready to grab a towel, but my reflection didn't. It just kept staring back, its eyes wide, unblinking. I froze. My heart started pounding in my chest like a drum. I told myself I was just seeing things, that my mind was playing tricks on me. I slowly, deliberately, raised my right hand. In the mirror, my other self just stood there, completely still. My hand was up, but hers remained stubbornly at her side. Panic set in. I dropped my hand, my breath catching in my throat. Then, the reflection slowly, mockingly, raised its hand. I stumbled back, away from the mirror, my back hitting the cool tile of the opposite wall. I couldn't tear my eyes away. The woman in the mirror, the one who looked exactly like me, tilted her head. A slow, chilling smile spread across her face. It wasn't my smile. It was cold, predatory. I didn't smile back. I was too horrified to move, to even breathe. This thing, this copy, was in my home, trapped behind a thin layer of silvered glass, and it was watching me. Over the next few days, it got worse. Every time I passed a mirror, a reflective window, even the dark screen of my phone, she was there. And she was always doing something I wasn't. While I was tying my shoes, she'd be standing straight, watching me. While I was making coffee, she'd be leaning against the counter, her arms crossed, that same unsettling smile on her face. It was a constant, silent torment. I started avoiding my own reflection, turning off lights, covering mirrors with towels. But I could still feel her eyes on me. I felt like I was losing my mind. I couldn't tell anyone. Who would believe me? They'd think I was crazy. The exhaustion was overwhelming. I was barely sleeping, terrified of what she might do while I was vulnerable. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. I walked into the bathroom, my hands shaking, and stood before the mirror. She was already there, waiting. Her expression was different this time. It wasn't smug or mocking. It was determined. A jolt, cold and electric, shot up my arm. The world spun, a blur of colors and light. And then, everything went black. When I opened my eyes, I was standing in my bathroom. Everything looked normal. I looked at my hands, my body. I was fine. I cautiously looked up at the mirror. In it, I saw myself. But this time, the reflection was me. Truly me. She looked terrified, her eyes wide with panic. She started banging on the glass, her mouth opening in a silent scream. And that's when I noticed it. A slow, cold smile spreading across my own face. A smile that wasn't mine. I was on the wrong side of the glass. And she was finally free. Thanks for listening to my story. If you enjoy diving into the unsettling and the unknown, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. Stay curious, and maybe don't stare into the mirror for too long. Welcome to Blackwood Creek, a town that seems frozen in time. Quaint little houses, a single general store, and streets where kids still play until dusk. From the outside, it's an idyllic escape. But stick around until the sun begins to dip below the horizon, and you'll feel it. A strange, collective anxiety that settles over the town like a thick fog. At first, you might think it's just a local custom. As the sky bleeds from orange to purple, you'll hear it. Click, click, click. The sound of deadbolts sliding into place, one after another, in every single house. You might assume they're afraid of something lurking in the shadows, some creature of the night. But if you were to ask a local, they'd just shake their head, a sad, knowing look in their eyes, and tell you, we're not locking things out. We're locking something in. The story goes back generations. It's a tale whispered from parent to child, a heavy inheritance passed down with the family home. They say a long time ago, a desperate bargain was struck to save the town from a terrible famine. The details are hazy, lost to time and fear. But the price of that bargain lives on, inside each and every one of them. It starts as a subtle shift, a flicker in someone's eyes, a strange twist to their smile. As twilight deepens, the change becomes more pronounced. Skin pales, limbs elongate in unnatural ways, and a low, guttural growl replaces friendly chatter. The people of Blackwood Creek don't just have skeletons in their closets. They become the monsters themselves. Every night, they transform. This isn't a choice. It's a curse woven into their very DNA. The locks on their doors aren't for protection against the outside world. They are cages, self-imposed prisons to contain the beast within, to stop it from spilling out into the night and preying on any unlucky soul who might be passing through. Imagine the horror, knowing that the person you love, your child, your parent, will become a mindless, ravenous creature once the sun sets. The nightly ritual isn't just about survival. It's an act of love. Locking the door is a promise. I will keep you safe from me. They huddle in their reinforced basements, listening to the scratching and clawing from the other side of the door, waiting for the dawn. Because with the first rays of sunlight, the transformation reverses. The monster recedes, and the person returns, often with no memory of the night's horrors, just a bone-deep exhaustion and the grim reality of another day. They emerge, unlock their doors, and try to live a normal life. They tend their gardens, chat with neighbors, and smile at strangers, all while carrying the weight of the monster they will become again in just a few hours. So if you ever find yourself in a town where every door is locked tight at sunset, don't try to find out what they're hiding from. The real question is, what are they hiding? The answer might be looking back at you from behind the glass. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like and subscribe for more tales from the shadows. The flickering glow of the TV was the only light in the living room, casting long, dancing shadows on the walls. It was my third time babysitting for the Wilsons, and so far, it had been the easiest gig of my life. Their son, Leo, was always a breeze. A little quiet, maybe, but never any trouble. When I arrived tonight, Mrs. Wilson whispered that Leo had a bit of a cold and was already asleep in his room. "Just let him rest, dear," she'd said, her hand cool on my arm. "No need to disturb him. We'll be back before midnight." So I did just that. I made myself comfortable on their plush sofa, scrolling through my phone and occasionally glancing at the baby monitor on the coffee table. The screen showed Leo tucked under his dinosaur-patterned duvet, perfectly still. Every so often, I'd turn up the volume, straining to hear the soft rhythm of his breathing. It was faint, but it was there. At least, I thought it was. Around 10 o'clock, a wave of unease washed over me. It was too quiet. The house felt unnaturally still, the kind of silence that makes the hairs on your arms stand up. I looked at the monitor again. Leo hadn't moved an inch. Not a single twitch or a roll. Just still. My heart started to thump against my ribs. "This is silly," I muttered to myself, trying to brush off the feeling. Kids sleep deeply, especially when they're sick. But the knot in my stomach tightened. I turned the volume on the monitor all the way up. Nothing. Just a faint, electronic hiss. No soft sighs, no gentle breaths. Just static. I had to check. I had to be sure. My feet felt like lead as I pushed myself off the sofa and crept up the carpeted stairs. Each step creaked under my weight, the sound deafening in the silence. The hallway was dark, and I used my phone's flashlight to guide the way to Leo's room. The door was slightly ajar, just as Mrs. Wilson had left it. I pushed it open gently. The room was cold, colder than the rest of the house. The beam from my phone cut through the darkness, landing on the small figure in the bed. Leo was on his side, facing away from the door, his blonde hair peeking out from under the covers. "Leo," I whispered, my voice trembling. "Hey, buddy. You okay?" No response. I took another step into the room, my breath catching in my throat. I reached out a hesitant hand to touch his shoulder, to give him a gentle shake. But as my fingers brushed against his pajama-clad arm, I snatched them back. His skin was cold. Not just cool from the room, but icy, unnervingly cold. The kind of cold that doesn't belong to the living. Panic seized me. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone steady. I moved the light to his face. His eyes were partially open, staring blankly at the wall. His lips had a faint blue tinge. And there was a stillness about him that was absolute and terrifying. He wasn't sleeping. He was gone. My mind raced, trying to make sense of it. How long? How long had he been like this? I thought back to the monitor, the faint sounds I thought were his breathing. Was it just the static? The hum of the house? Had I been sitting downstairs for 3 hours, watching a child who was already gone? A wave of nausea hit me, and I stumbled back out of the room, my hand clamped over my mouth. Downstairs, the baby monitor on the coffee table suddenly crackled to life. But it wasn't static. It was a voice. A faint, childlike whisper. It was distorted, but I could make out the words. "Thank you for watching me." My blood ran cold. I spun around, staring at the dark staircase, my heart hammering against my chest. The whisper came again, this time seemingly from right behind me. "Now you can play with me forever." I screamed. The front door was my only thought. I scrambled for the lock, my fingers fumbling. I didn't look back. I just ran. I never found out what happened in that house, and I never want to. Some doors are best left unopened. Thanks for watching, and remember to subscribe for more strange stories. Stay safe out there. Have you ever had that feeling, that prickling sensation on the back of your neck that tells you something is deeply, fundamentally wrong? For me, it started with the hallway. I moved into this apartment building, a classic pre-war place with good bones and what I thought was a lot of character. My unit, 7B, was at the very end of the hall. The first day, I measured it out of curiosity, about 100 feet from the elevator to my door. A perfectly normal distance. The first week was uneventful. I unpacked, got to know the squeak in the third floorboard, and learned which neighbor played their music too loud on Wednesdays. But then, on the 8th night, I came home late from work. As I stepped out of the elevator, the hallway seemed longer. I shook my head, blaming it on exhaustion. It had been a long day, but as I walked, the familiar rhythm of my footsteps fell off. It took more steps than usual to reach my door. I dismissed it. It was just fatigue, right? The next night, I couldn't ignore it. The distance had definitely increased. The floral wallpaper pattern seemed to repeat more times than it should. The sconce lights, usually spaced about 10 feet apart, looked like distant, hazy stars. A cold knot of dread formed in my stomach. I started timing my walks. The first night, it took me 30 seconds. By the end of the second week, it was a full minute. A minute of walking down a straight, featureless hallway that I knew, logically, should only take half that time. I tried to talk to my neighbors. I'd knock on their doors, but no one ever answered. It was as if I was the only person living on the 7th floor. I even tried to catch the building manager, but his office was always empty. I was alone with this impossible, stretching corridor. My nights became a ritual of fear. I'd step out of the elevator, take a deep breath, and start walking, my heart pounding in my chest. The air in the hall grew colder, the silence more profound, the further I walked. One night, about a month in, I decided to test it. I brought a tape measure. I hooked one end to the elevator call button and started unspooling it as I walked. 100 feet, 200, 300. My door, which should have been right there, was still a shimmering speck in the distance. The tape measure ran out, its metal end clattering to the floor behind me, but the hallway just kept going. Panic seized me. I dropped everything and just ran. I ran for what felt like an eternity, my lungs burning, the repeating wallpaper pattern blurring into a sickening vortex. When I finally slammed my body against my front door and fumbled the key into the lock, I was gasping for air, drenched in a cold sweat. I threw the door open, stumbled inside, and slammed it shut, leaning against it as my body trembled. I never looked back. The next morning, I packed a single bag, walked out my door, and didn't stop until I was out of the city. I don't know what happened to that apartment or that hallway. Sometimes, I wake up in the middle of the night, convinced I can hear the faint, distant echo of my own footsteps, still walking, forever trying to reach a door that gets further away with every step. Thanks for watching. If you have a story about a place that just felt wrong, share it in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more strange tales. Stay safe out there. Have you ever driven down a lonely highway late at night and felt a chill run down your spine? That feeling that you're not quite alone? Well, what if I told you there's a place out there, a place that only reveals itself to a select few, right before their final journey begins? Today, we're diving into the legend of the Last Stop gas station. Imagine this. You're driving, lost, your gas tank hovering on empty. The GPS is useless. Your phone has no signal. Desperation starts to set in. Then, through the darkness, you see it. A single, flickering neon sign that reads gas. It looks old, like something straight out of a black and white movie, but it's the only sign of life for miles. You pull in, relieved. The attendant who greets you is strange. They don't say much, and their eyes seem to hold a knowledge that's ancient and profound. They don't ask for money. Instead, they offer you a full tank of gas, a hot cup of coffee, and a chance to make one last phone call. The strange thing is, the old-fashioned rotary phone on the counter works perfectly, even when your own cell phone is a dead brick. Travelers who've miraculously survived to tell the tale, and there are very, very few, all describe the same thing. They called a loved one, someone they had unfinished business with. A father called his estranged daughter to say, "I love you." A woman called her mother to apologize for a fight they had years ago. It's a moment of closure, a final chance to say what needs to be said. After the call, the attendant simply nods, and you're sent on your way. You drive off, feeling a strange sense of peace. You look in your rearview mirror to get one last glimpse of the station, but it's gone. Vanished, as if it was never there at all. Moments later, disaster strikes. A blown tire, a sudden swerve, a head-on collision. The end comes quickly, but without the panic or fear you might expect. So what is this place? Is it a supernatural waypoint? A gatekeeper stationed between life and death? Some believe it's a form of grace, a final act of kindness from the universe, giving those on the brink a chance to find peace before they cross over. The gas they provide isn't for your car. It's fuel for your soul, helping you complete the last leg of your journey. The stories are whispered among long-haul truckers and late-night travelers. They say if you see that flickering light on a deserted road, don't be afraid. It means you've been chosen. It means you have one last, important task to complete. The last stop gas station isn't a place of horror, but a place of quiet reflection and final goodbyes. It's a reminder that even in our final moments, there can be a moment of connection and love. What do you think? Is this a comforting thought or a terrifying one? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more mysteries. Thanks for watching.